Locho sampo pagyo trashi pa tuche tempe tinle yarngoda hege drolor zampe zeparche palden lame shabla solvade Om a Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Karm Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om a Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Karm Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhar Sumatimo Nishasan Uta Vardanya Shriba Varsamanya Sarva Siddhi Hum Pakyuke Kudan Dagi Lo Pakyuke Sundan Dagi Nga Pakyuke Tudan Dagi Tenyerme Chiktu Jingi Makyuke Kodan Dagi Lo Makyuke Sundan Dagi Tudan Dagi Tenyerme Chiktu Jingi Lo Omo Namo Bhagavate Sarva Trilokya Prativishistaya Buddhayate Nama Tayata Om Brum 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 Shodaya Shodaya Vishodaya Vishodaya Asama Samanta Avabas Paranagati Kagana Swabhava Vishuddhe Abhishinjantu Mam Sarvatata Gata Sugata Varavachana Amrita Abhishekera Mahamudra Mantra Pade Ahara Ahara Mama Ayo Sandarani Shodaya Shodaya Vishodaya Vishodaya Kagana Swabhava Vishuddhe Ushnisha Vijaya Parishuddhe Sahasra Rasmi Sanjodite Sarvatata Gata Avalokin Shat Paramita Paripurani Sarvatata Gata Mate Dasha Bhumi Pratishtite Sarvatata Gata Hridaya Adhishtana Adhishtite Mudre Mudre Maha Vajrakaya Samantana Parishuddhe Sarva Karma Avarana Vishuddhe Prati Nivartaya Mama Ayur Vishuddhe Sarva Tata Gata Samaya Adhishtana Adhishtite Om Muni Vimuni Vimuni Maha Vimuni Mati Mati Maha Mati Mamati Sumati Tatata Buddha Koti Parishuddhe Visput Buddhishuddhe He He Jaya Jaya Vijaya Vij Smara Smara Spara Spara Sparaya Sparaya Sarva Buddha Adhishtana Adhishtite Shuddhe Shuddhe Buddhe Vajre Vajre Maha Vajre Su Vajre Vajra Garbe Jaya Garbe Vijaya Garbe Vajra Jwala Garbe Vajro Bhave Vajra Sambhave Vajre Vajrini Vajram Bhavantu Mama Shariram Sarva Sattva Namcha Kaya Parishuddhir Bhavan Sada Sarva Gati Parishuddhischa Sarva Tata Gatascha Mam Samazvasayantu Buddhaya Buddhaya Siddhaya Siddhaya Bodhaya Bodhaya Vibodhaya Vibodhaya Mochaya Mochaya Vimochaya Vimochaya Shodaya Shodaya Vishodaya Vishodaya Samantena Mochaya Mochaya Samanta Rasmi Parishuddhe Sarva Tata Gata Hridaya Adhishtana Adhishtite Shuddha Mahamudre Mahamudra Mantra Pade Svoha Omo Brum Svoha Omo Amrita Ayurdate Svoha Om Ahum Tramri Amam Sarva Sattvam Scha Raksha Raksha Kuru Om A Guru Buddha Ushnisha Vijaya Sarvasiddhi Hum. Omo Amite Amito Bhave Amita Vikrante Amita Gatri Amita Kamini Amita Ayurdate Kagana Kirtikare Sarva Kleshakshayam Kariye Svoha Timichive Tsematon Te Mela Nambra Gyalmeku Se waratone chida pachumte chime rikse nyurdo tobrasho chetsun lame kutse rabten nam karachinle chochur gebad lo santembe drume sasumgi drove munse tatu ne gyurchi Sangye chedan sogi chonam la janchu bhardo dani kyapsuchi Dagi jinso give sonamgi drola pinchira sangye druparish Sangye chedan sogi chonamla chancho bhardo dani kyapsuchi Dagi chishe give sonamgi drola pinchira sangye druparish Sangye chedan tsogi chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapsuchi Dagi chushe gibe sonamgi drola penchira sangye druparasho In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge unto enlightenment through the practice of generosity and the other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. So, there is something that we have already said many times, and I think we all know it quite well, at least I think so, that everything that we do, mostly, it doesn't matter where we are, who we are, which culture we come from, at what moment of our life we are, if we are a little baby or if we are an old man. All that we do basically because we have this strong intention, this strong wish to be happy and not to suffer. Everything that we do, basically. And we have this very strong intention, this strength, we could even say. And what happens is that we have the tendency to expect that this happiness could come from making a perfect world around us, basically. If we look around, that's what we do very often. But if we really analyze, we have already talked about this so many times, but just to make an introduction to the part we're going to talk, if we just analyze for a moment, for example, in this world that we live, let's not talk about existence in a more vast way. Let's just talk about this world here, planet Earth, okay? Where we are right now, that we can see, that we can touch. If we really look for it for a moment, from the point of view of matter, okay? Nature, does it give enough for everyone in this world? If it was only for matter, would there be food for everyone living in this world? Yes. Would there be anything missing? Is there something that nature is not giving to us? No. So, would there be enough for everybody to eat, to be well, to be happy? Yes. So, even if we just look at this moment to this world, okay, without thinking about many complex things, just look to the world as it is, what we can see. Where are the conflicts coming from? Not from the lack of resources. Not because the world is not perfect enough. The world as it is, it could be a paradise if we were to be different. So where are all the conflicts and all the differences and everything coming from? Our own way of relating to the world. So it's quite absurd. It's really not quite. It's very absurd, okay? That what we most wish is to be happy, and look what we do. Our wish is that we want to be happy. We don't want to suffer. And look what we create. I'm talking from a more vast point of view. I'm talking about, no, if we think about the whole world. We as human beings, if we talk, as sentient beings, what we all want is we want to be happy. But then look what we do. Look the world in which we live. And we don't need, I'm not talking about only the wars and all the other conflicts and so on and so on. Even from our own personal life and around us in the work and in the family and within friends and the Sangha and everything else, okay? We have all conditions to be happy. Everything is there. Why we are not happy? Because we don't know the right way how to do it, basically. Okay? Because from the material point of view, everything is there. Nothing is really missing. So, it becomes very clear as we analyze it that happiness cannot depend on creating a perfect world, because the perfect world somehow is already there. But we don't know how to use it as perfect. Okay? So what we need is that we need to relate to the world, let's say, in a perfect way. And not wait from the world to be perfect. And this part, to relate to the world in a correct way, it depends, Buddha taught us in two different ways that we need, two aspects that we need to develop. Which we call Chöpa and Tawa in Tibetan. Chöpa means behavior, conduct, and Tawa means view. So two things we need to change in order to relate to the world in a positive way. Our behavior and our view. When we call about Chöpa, or Tawa, or behavior, conduct, it means the way how we talk, the way how we relate physically, the way how we think in relation, for example, eliminating anger or changing our behavior related to anger, jealousy, envy, the way how we really relate to people every day, the way how we deal with situations. So, generating more love and compassion and being generous and being kind and being coherent between what we believe and what we do. You know, there are many aspects that become very important, what we call behavior. Okay, accumulating positive energy, eliminating our own negativities, all of this is part of behavior. So normally when we talk about the 6 perfections, beside the part of developing a correct behavior, we have the part of generosity, morality, patience, effort, and concentration, mostly. So, it's developing a state in which our mind is more centered, we don't have this constant insatisfaction, and all of this is part of behavior, okay? And it's very important for us to develop a correct behavior in order to be happy, basically. Okay? How do we develop a correct behavior? By recognizing what is the correct behavior, by having good examples for us, which is also very important. And then what we need to do is we need somehow to force us, which means we need to induce ourselves with effort to act in a correct way. It's not easy, it's not spontaneously, but I will put an effort to do it. In the beginning, it's even a little bit painful to be generous, and to be nice. And it's not coming from the deep of my heart, It's like, okay, but I must do it. So I do 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. In the 10,000 times, it comes spontaneously. Okay? That's why where we put our behavior, slowly we direct ourselves, because our mind changes by habit. And if we look in our life, most of the things are a matter of habits. We have habits by the way how we think. We have habits in the way how we speak. We have habits in the way how we talk, how we eat, how we move, so many things. And this is where we need to change. So when we talk about our behavior, it has a lot to do with our habits also. Okay? So how do we change one habit? By forcing ourselves to do an opposite habit. And then slowly, we change it. So, but this is the part of conduct, which we're not going into that point. We have almost the all first chapters of Bodhisattva Charyavatara are all related to conduct, okay? We're not going to go through that right now. The second aspect that we need to change in order to make ourselves more happy is our view. The view is the basis also for conduct and everything else. But we cannot only think, oh, I only change my view and I don't change my conduct. That's not possible. It doesn't work. We need also to change our conduct, okay? It's not enough for me to be a very intelligent person and to have, all phenomena like inherent existence and everything is interdependent and I am a very nervous and angry person. It doesn't work, okay? We need to deal both conduct, which means developing love and compassion, bodhicitta, and at the same time we need to develop the correct view. So when we talk about developing a correct view, it means changing the way how we see and how we relate to reality. Now, making it short, we relate to reality as if reality exists out of its own characteristics, out of its own, exists in an autonomous, intrinsic way, while actually it is interdependent. We are not aware about the interdependence that exists between the parts and the unity. We are not aware about the interdependence that exists between the base of imputation and the imputation, which means object and perceiver, and so on. So, not being aware of all this of the complex interdependence within which reality exists, we see and we grasp at reality as if it existed inherently. So we have seen all of this quite many times already these days. But to change our view is not enough just to understand. We need to reflect and to comprehend it deeply again and again. And also in our mind we have two main aspects related, for example, to the view. One is, as we call it, spontaneous, henkye, and the other one is what we may call it constructed, kundak. So the objective is to change the spontaneous wrong view of reality. But in order for us to change that, first we need anyhow to deal with the constructed one. The constructed view is the view that depends on the culture that we live in, that depends on the education that we received, on the information that we received, and so on. So there are many things that we believe in a way, and we never really ask us much why it is like that, and so on. We simply follow. And we have many influences in this way. Okay? So the point of the text that we are right now, which is verse 127 of the 9th chapter, it is actually talking now about one of the non-Buddhist schools called the Samkhya. And it is basically discussing their point of view together with the Buddhist point of view, okay? And there are quite many verses about that. And the point here that I want to bring is that, in the time that this text was written, about 1,500 years ago, one of the most prominent philosophies that was religion's point of view that was present in India was the Samkhyas. I think, has anyone here received a Samkhya education? No. Okay. First of all, we have no clue really how the Samkhyas see reality and so on. Second, our constructed view is not the constructed view of the Samkhya. Our constructed view, for most of us, is from the monotheistic religion point of view of reality. We have a mixed view, constructed view, that is mixed by a materialistic scientific view and by a monotheistic religion. Now, this is more or less what it's our constructed view, okay? So even if we talk, but science nowadays, if you look to quantum physics, it's not materialistic in that way, but that's not what is the common influence of reality that most people receive, Sure, there are people that study about quantum physics and so on, and it's extremely similar to Buddhism in many ways. But what is the common view that we are influenced by? A very external materialistic view of reality. Okay? So, one point that I was thinking today before starting to read the text, that would really be important, but I'm not ready to do it right now. I have not reflected enough upon it. but it's something that we should do a study about, if anybody is interested to do it. I think it would be very good to do really a study, like a sort of a thesis on it, which is, what are the constructed views that we have in our culture right now here? What are the constructed views that we have? Do we have a constructed view of reality? How do we see life? Do we see it cyclically? Do we see linearly? Do we have a constructed view that reality exists independently of us? Do we have a constructed view that everything is interdependent? What is the constructed view that we have? Where it's coming from? Okay? And it's not something obvious, huh? But then first we need to go through our own constructed view. Then we can actually discuss about it and say, oh, this is wrong, this is right, that is wrong. And we can go through that. Okay? So I'm not going to go to explain word by word today of the Samkhya view, because first of all, we don't know it. And it's like we are going to read a debate between two wise people, but we do not know really what they are talking much about, okay? I have studied a little bit of the Samkhya view, which is very complex. It's not simple, and what I have studied is really very little about it. And so I don't see myself as someone suitable to really discuss about it, because I don't know enough about it, okay? So, and in the same way, we also don't know. And then it's like we have here Shantideva discussing about the Samkhya view, and really, simply, we don't have enough knowledge really to be able to judge it, to understand it so well. First thing. Second thing, why is this discussion about the Samkhya present here? Because that was the most common constructed view of the time. But nowadays we have another constructed view. So in our own path, we don't need to discuss about the Samkhya, we need to discuss about the monotheistic materialistic view. That's what most of us in our cultural context, that's the influence that most of us we have. Okay? So, but I am not ready to do this discussion in the sense we need to really reflect more upon it and see it a bit better. But this, I think, is a point would be very interesting for some sort of study and research also. Okay? Maybe someone has already done it, most probably. Anyhow, just one point before reading the text, which I added in Italian, is the fact that of all the constructed views that we have an influence from religious point of view, from monotheistic religions. We have an influence from the so-called, I could say somehow, a materialistic so-called scientific view. And we have also a strong influence from the social point of view. From the social point of view, economical social point of view. Okay? For example, the way how we relate to time. That now we are always looking, what time is it? What time I need to wake up? Or 1 minute, 1 second. This exists. The way how we relate to time, it's only in dependence with the economical system that we live in. Before the Industrial Revolution, time, minute almost didn't exist, you know. People did not count minutes. Did not relate to minutes. This is something that came afterwards. The way how we relate. Now, okay, what time is the teaching? Is it 3? Is it 1? Is it 1 minute late? 5 minutes late? We have the relation how we are trapped inside time. That is a constructed view. It comes as in a way of service to the market. Okay? So this is just to see one influence, that it's very big in our life. Where did it start? Not so long ago, with Industrial Revolution. Before that, people would live by the ring of the bell of the church. And there would be no worries at all this time, at that time, and this and that, okay? So, I just want to leave this point of reflection. It's very, very important for us to reflect upon what are the influences that we have of how we see reality, constructed influences, constructed view of reality, which is not something that came spontaneously from us. It's something that we receive from many, many points put together, okay? It's actually quite shocking when we start really reflecting upon some things, okay? Yeah. It's something that really but it's important. I don't want to go into this point now because we have other things to see, but just reflect upon it, okay? I just open one little door for everyone to go and to reflect upon this point, okay? Tsowo takpa lekiwa gakpas, tsowo takpa drowa yi gyuyin parni changchen de, Ningtop duldam mumpa she chawa yunte nyamne ni tsowo sheja rabjote minyam drowa yimbar jo. Chikla rangshin sumni ni rikming te na te yoming, te shin yunte yoming te yang sosor namsum chir, yunte me na takso kyang, yo ni shintu kyang ringyur, yo me kola sokpa la, deso yo ba sangpa ming. Ngo nam tegyu rangshin na ngobo namche simi nam kyogi gyuyan deso ni tele namsok jungwa me namso le ni deso yin teme chirna deso me deso takpa nitu yang namya mikpa yo ma yin deso selwa yo ni na nyongwa chichir zi ma yin Teni chamo gyurna te raktan chawa chitar yin. Rakpa torna cha gyurwe charak teda mitak ni. Te shi ngobo tamche ni mita nitu chi mido. Rakpa dele shen mina dewa selwa mitak ni. Kalte meba gayang ni kemi mechir she do na. Salwa mebar kewar ni kyo mi do kya neba ni. Kalte gyula dre ne na. Sensa mitsan sawar gyur regi ringi ralpilgi sabun nyola kowargi jikte mongbe matong na teni shegi shakni shak teni shete jikten layani yoba chite tong mayin jikten tsema ni mimna selwar tongwang de mayin kalte tsema tsemin na Teshen zumbar migyu rams. Teni tuna tongpa ni gompa techir mite gyur. Takpe ngola marek par tei ngome zingma yin. Terchir zumpe ngon techir zumpe ngo kan yin. Tei ngome salwar zun. Tena milam pushi la teme nyampe namdo ni teyo nampar tokpa yi gek yin. Teyan zumpa yin. So, okay, so now we are in verse 126 and a half. And it says, while the Samkhyas assert static primal matter as the cause of the world, for them the universal constituents known as sattva, pleasure, rajas, pain, and tamas, neutral sensations, abiding not in imbalance are called primal matter, while their imbalance is said to be the world. But it's illogical for a partless unity to be something threefold by nature, and therefore it doesn't exist. Likewise, the universal constituents can't be truly existent, because each of them too has three parts. And if the absence of the universal constituents, the true existence of sound and the rest becomes very far-fetched. Moreover, it's impossible for pleasure and so on to exist in non-conscious clothing and the like. Suppose you said, functional phenomena exist in the natural guise of their causes. Well, hasn't functional phenomena already been analyzed? In any case, the causes for you are pleasure and so on themselves. But cotton clothing and the likes don't arise from that at all. And if pleasure and so on were to exist from cotton clothing and the likes, then from their absence pleasure and so on wouldn't exist. Moreover, a static state of pleasure and so on has never been focused upon. If manifest pleasure and so on were truly existent statically, why isn't their experience always perceived? Suppose you said, the sensation itself goes on a subtle unmanifest state. Well, how it can be both gross and subtle? Since it would have become subtle and unmanifest, after having left its gross manifest state, its gross and subtle states are non-static. So, why not accept the non-staticness like that of all functional phenomena? And if its gross manifest state were no different from pleasure itself, then the non-staticness of pleasure is obvious. Suppose you asserted, but something totally non-existent in the cause can't be produced because it's being non-existent. Well, then production of something non-existent as a manifest object would be the self-contradiction into which you are positioned, although you don't want it. And if the fact were positioned in the cause, then a consumer of food would be the eater of excrement. And for the piece of cotton clothing, cotton seed could be bought and worn instead. Suppose you said, although common people don't see it because of bewilderment, precisely that is the position established by Kapila, the knower of reality. Well, cognition of that must also exist in common people, so why isn't it seen? Suppose you answer, that lies in common people not being valid cognizers for that. Well, what they see as manifest then would also not be true. Suppose you retorted, but you too assert that a valid cognizer for the common world is not a valid cognizer for deepest truth. And if that's the case, then wouldn't what was vividly cognized by it also become false? And therefore, in actuality, meditation on the voidness of functional phenomena by it becoming correct. Well, yes, but when functional phenomena labeled and conceptually analyzed are not contacted, the non-functional phenomena of their known true existence would also not be grasped. Therefore, concerning any truly existent functional phenomenon that's false, the falsehood of non-functional phenomenon of its known true existence would be obvious. Thus, upon the death of a son in a dream, the conceptual thought that he doesn't exist stops the arising of the conceptual thought that he does exist, and yet it is false. Therefore, with discerning analysis like this, nothing exists that is from no cause at all, and that's sitting there, fixed in conditions, whether separate ones or combined. Okay? So, here we have two different points. One moment in which the Madhyamika is answering and giving the reasons why the views of the Samkhyas are wrong. And then there is one point from the Samkhya that is going against the Madhyamika view, and the Madhyamika is answering back. Okay? But the point that, as I said before, we're not entering into details about this because we don't have enough knowledge about it, and we don't have enough influence of it also. But the point that I want most of all to bring here is that it's so beautiful that in the past there was this very strong way of debating. The different schools of thought used to meet and used to talk, used to exchange ideas. And there was really debating. It was very common at the time to have debating between the different philosophical schools. And what would happen is that if I am from one school and you are from another, and you come to debate with me and you win, I would convert myself to your tradition with all my disciples and temples and everything I have. That's how it was. And why? Because we are seekers of truth. We are not attached to our tradition. That's what we are supposed to be, no? So, that's why debates were open. So, this is something I really miss nowadays, no? Okay, there is something we have a point of view that we don't agree. Okay, let's make an open public debate about it. No, imagine how nice it would be. Friday evening in television, a debate, public debate between two different points of view. Serious debate. No? Remembering that a serious debate, it's said, to debate with a wise is easy, to debate with an ignorant is difficult. Okay? I'm talking about really like debate as it's done traditionally, having a correct way of dialectics and really following rules of debating in a way that we can understand each other and talk the same language and so on. And one of the beautiful things of debating is that if I need to debate with you, I must learn your own view. I must know you. So in the moment that we need to know the other traditions, we need to know the other points of view, then we can really judge them. Then we can really discuss with them. And in the moment that we go to see the other way of seeing things, we will see that most of all, many preconcepts we had were wrong. There are many things that we thought were different but actually are the same. Many things that are similar, and some other things that are different. But then we can also understand ourselves better. For me, one of the also very beautiful things of debating with others is that we learn most of all to see better our own selves. We learn to observe because we make questions to us when we go to see someone that is different. For example, a different religion, a different philosophy of life. Questions are going to come about us that we never thought about. Many things that we have taken for granted we never ask about. So it's very important even to understand ourselves better. So, even like the simple fact of really understanding the other is the only way really how to make a correct debate. When we need to debate to someone, you must study the other's point of view. You cannot debate with the other without really knowing him, without really understanding. And then if we really are there, not out of an attachment because I am from this tradition, Like some time ago, my teacher in Tibet, the abbot of Tashilumbo, Kachin Losam Phuntsho Rinpoche, he was telling me that he went for a trip to some holy place, and together there were abbots of many monasteries. And he said, there was a young man, an abbot of an Jonampa monastery, which is a very great tradition of Buddhism in Tibet. They are very, very good in the Trulkor Yoga and Kalachakra practice. This is their speciality somehow. But they have a view of regarding emptiness different from what Lama Tsongkhapa explained. So my teacher was debating with him about this. And they were debating, my teacher was debating not like from the point of view of saying, the Joe Taranata is wrong because of this or that. He was saying, okay, going to the actual philosophical points and trying to understand, using logics. And making reference to the texts of Nagarjuna that both of them accept and so on. After one long time, he told me that they were on the train and there was many hours there. So they was debating. After a long time, the other monk, he came to my teacher and said, look, I really respect you. I really like you. You are a great teacher and so on. But we can stay debating for days and hours. By the end of the day, you are Gelupa, I am Jonampa. So it doesn't matter what you say, what the debates come about. I'm going to follow my tradition and you're going to follow yours. And my teacher said, no. We are here to look for the truth. It doesn't matter who said it. And we need to understand it better. So this is something that I really miss sometimes, It can be even within scientific, environment. Very often not open for real debate and real discussion, and between religions, and between people, between us. I have seen, we have the tendency, whenever something new and different comes, right away, we judge without even knowing it. So, it's very important for us to open ourselves for others. Learn, understand. Like there was one time in India, one great master from a non-Buddhist tradition. And he was so intelligent and wise. And he was making debates with many Buddhist teachers, and he was converting everyone. Because he was winning all the debates. So at a certain point, they were really becoming worried. Some Buddhist teachers, they were really becoming worried because Buddhism was really going away, because this teacher, he was so wise and so able in debating that he was winning the debates with many, many, many Buddhist teachers and their monasteries. And they were all converting because of that. So he said, no, I must be able to win a debate with him. Because he felt like, okay, I know that this view is not ultimately correct, but I cannot debate with him because dialectically it's not working, because I don't know really his views so well. So what I need to do, I need to learn better his view. But he couldn't, because no one was there really teaching in that way. So what he did is that he dressed himself as a person from the lower caste, and he went to the house of the family of this teacher, and he offered his services as a servant, a sort of a slave. And he stayed serving the house of this non-Buddhist master for 12 years. Cleaning, washing the food, making food, going to bring water, planting, doing all the most harsh works. He was a very high master philosophically and so on, and he dressed himself like that, and he went there like this. And then during all the years that he was there, slowly, this teacher started to teach him things, because his own son was not so interested in the philosophy and so on. And there was a servant there, which originally had like no family, was there alone. He was a person that was very kind, very intelligent, sensible, and so on. So he started to teach him what he couldn't teach to his son because he was not interested. And finally, he taught him the most details and things that he would not explain in public about his philosophy. So when he learned all of this, then he went to him and he said, thank you very much, but actually, you know, I am Buddhist, and I am like this, like that. And then he invited him for a public debate, and he won it. So the main point basically is, in order for you to talk with the other one, you must know the other. But the main point is that what we are looking for is not to be Buddhist. You know, I really don't care to be Buddhist or not. The important thing is that we follow what is coherent, and we follow what is truth and what for us work. Sure, every tradition has coherence within the way how it's transmitting. We cannot just say, oh, I'm not following anything, I just follow what for me is truth. Like this is also not working. There is a coherence within every tradition. That's why we have a lineage, we have many things that is working also within that. But our point is following a path, and we are following the path of truth. That's what we need to look for, most of all, okay? So, when we go and when we know the other, when we learn other, when we listen to other, we finally are able to know better ourselves. Okay? So this is something that it's something really important for us to reflect upon, for us to bring to our life whenever we see someone from following a different tradition. Like not long ago, there was one Buddhist center which was opened in Milan, a big one. Many people came from the Sogagakai tradition. Many people came to me asking, what do I think about? I said, I don't know. I don't know their tradition enough to think to have a judgment about it. If it's good, if it's bad, if it's like this, if it's like that. I can have some preconcepts by my own ignorance. By it seems like this, it seems like that, but I don't know. I have no experience. I have no knowledge able really to judge about it. So we really need to know each other in order to discuss, in order to talk, in order to even understand our own way better. I remember some months ago, I don't know, some time ago, I was invited by a priest in Milan to go in their, not exactly inside the church, but a place nearby the church where they give the talks and so on, to talk about prayer according to Buddhism. And the simple fact of being in a different context, talking to people from a different religion, about something that is from my own tradition, already made me to reflect upon prayer from a different point of view that normally I didn't do. So it's so precious to be able to see the other without fear. Because what we are following is we are looking for the truth. We are not following because we must be from this or from that, okay? And so often it's so difficult even to just be able to talk together, you know. I would leave more than interreligious meetings where we just sit, which is already quite difficult just to sit together. It would be so wonderful if we could really openly discuss about things, no? This would be really something that would be very nice. So in our own small way, in our life, we can just, what I request here is just we need to be open for other traditions. We need to be open to understand the differences so that we can understand better our own way. Okay? This is my point. Here, just one point. Maybe tomorrow we can maybe go a little bit more into deep details about this. Actually, we have one of the lines that I most like of the 9th chapter, okay? Which is the part in which the Madhyamika is answering the question that the Samkhya is making to it. And it says, Kalte tsema tse mingna te shal zumpr miguram. Tenituna tombani gomte chirte mite gyur. An answer. Takpe ngola marek parte ngöme zingmaying. Te chir zumpe ngö kanying. Te ngöme salwar zun. Tena milam pushila. Te me nyambe namdogni. Te yo nampar tokbayi gek ying. Te yang zumpa ying. So verse 138, and it says, But you too asserted a valid cognizer for the common world is not a valid cognizer for deepest truth. And if that's the case, then wouldn't what was validly cognized by it also become false? And therefore, in actuality, meditation on voidness of functional phenomena by it becoming correct. The point here that is the Samkhya is asking is that when you talk about a valid cognizer, okay, the mind that apprehends phenomena, it's said to be incorrect, it's said to be false in relation to ultimate truth. This is one point, also because even though it's correct from the common point of view, from the point of view of absolute truth is not correct. Why? Because it does not perceive phenomena as being of the lack of inherent existence. But the other point that is also here is that every phenomena can be perceived by an inferential valid cognizer. Okay? Which means something that can be perceived through logics. For example, if I say, behind the mountain, I look here and I see behind the mountain coming a lot of smoke. What can I understand from that? That there is fire. So I can perceive the fire that is behind the mountain because I see the smoke coming out. Why? Because wherever there is smoke, there is fire. So based on that, I can see, am I actually perceiving the actual fire directly? No. But am I perceiving the fire? Yes. So I can call the firefighters, no? Why? Because I know there is fire there, even though I am not seeing it with my eyes. So one of the points here is that whenever we have a valid inferential cognition, it perceives correctly, but it perceives through a mental image. And the mental image is by itself not the object. But we have a conflict in which we have an illusion, let's say, in which we believe that the mental image is the object. Okay? So very often, whenever we have a conceptual understanding of something, we have this idea that, it's not a conceptual idea, but we have the sensation, we experience it, as if the mental object is the same as the object itself. And actually we have many inferential cognitions that are not correct every day, because we follow not correct logics. But whenever we have a valid inferential cognition, it is also somehow non-valid. Why? Because it realizes the object through a mental image that is not identical to the object itself. So in the moment that we will meditate on emptiness, we should start meditating on emptiness by an inferential valid cognition, which means we need to understand first emptiness conceptually, and after we can meditate on it up to a moment where we have a direct experience, not conceptual. Okay? So if every conceptual thought is by its nature wrong, because it's not perceiving the actual object but a mental image of it, then wouldn't the emptiness that this mind is realizing, wouldn't it be non-existent? Wouldn't that also be a wrong way of seeing it? Okay, that's the question that the Samkhya is putting. And then Madhyamika is answering. Tak pengola marek par te ngöme zin mayin. And they say, verse 139, well, yes, but when functional phenomena labeled and conceptually analyzed are not contacted, the non-functional phenomenon of their nature, of their non-true existence, would also not be grasped. I have a little different translation for this verse, because for me it's really what I like so much this verse. Because I like it so much because the first time I listened to it, it opened my mind to a new horizon. And it says, Takpe ngola marek partengo medzingmain. Takpa means like to attribute, okay? Takpe ngola marek par. Without entering in contact with the designated object, okay? Takpa means to designate also. Without entering in contact with the designated object, is not possible to apprehend its known existence. Without entering in contact with the designated object, it is not possible to apprehend its known existence. So, for example, is there an elephant in this room? Are we sure about it? Yes, I'm not talking about the representation of elephants. I'm talking about the real animal walking in and... If we don't know what Dharmakaya is really, okay, can we answer? No. Okay. If I ask you, Kangla Chudru Chebe Langchen, is there a Kangla Chudru Chebe Langchen here? Is there a Kangla Chudru Chebe Langchen or not? Come on. You cannot answer. Why not? Because we don't know what you mean by it. We cannot imagine it. We just imagine this room and we cannot imagine what it is or not. Kangla Chudru Chebe Langchen means an elephant with 16 legs. Okay, it doesn't exist. Why? Because we have never seen it, basically. No one have ever shown us one. And sure, here is not. Okay? So basically, the important point here is that it's not possible for us to imagine, to understand the known existence of something if we cannot grasp the mental image of that. Okay? The only way to understand the known existence of something is by perceiving, by entering in contact with the mental image of that object. Okay? So, it says here, even though intrinsic reality doesn't exist, the only way that I can negate the existence of inherent existence is by imagining it. I need to see it, the mental image of it, even though it doesn't exist. Then I can know its non-existence. That's what I have said the first day that we were starting these teachings this time. The first thing, we need to see ignorance, and we need to see how ignorance see phenomena so that we can know that it's wrong. Otherwise, we cannot eliminate it. Okay? Okay, 1 second. I haven't finished. So, as it continues, it says, therefore, concerning any truly existent functional phenomena, that's false. The falsehood of the known functional phenomenon is of its known true existence would be obvious. Thus, upon the death of a son in a dream, the conceptual thought that he doesn't exist stop the arising of a conceptual thought that he does exist, and yet it's false. Okay? The point here is that, the point that is bringing here Shantideva is that the point is not if the conceptual cognition perceives the right phenomena or not. Even though the object of perception of the inferential valid cognizer that realizes emptiness is not realizing the actual emptiness, but a mental image that is not emptiness, but through it, it's able to block the mind that grasps at inherent existence. Similar to the fact that in a dream, the example that is given here is that if you are dreaming that your son dies, in the moment that we dream, in the middle of the dream, and we dream, okay, let's make an example a little bit more nice, maybe. We are in the middle of the dream, and we dream that someone stole our ice cream, okay? While we have the dream that we don't have in the dream, someone took away our ice cream. The mind that says, I have ice cream, is it still there? No. Even though when we wake up, the ice cream is all in the fridge. Okay? So the point is that even though nobody is really stealing our ice cream, this is not really happening. In the moment that I develop the mind that my ice cream was taken away, the mind that say I have ice cream cannot exist together. Even though the object actually doesn't exist in the way how it appears. In the same way, even though when we meditate on emptiness based on the mental image of emptiness, okay, which is not the actual emptiness, it is by itself enough to block the mind that grasps at inherent existence. Okay? Is this clear, not clear? I repeat once again. What's the final objective that we have here? We need to block the grasping at inherent existence, okay? In the moment that I generate the mind that understands the known existence of inherent existence, okay? The mind that grasps at inherent existence cannot exist. It's blocked. Even though it's not a direct experience in this moment. Even though it is still all based on mental image, but even though I'm talking about the mental image of the lack of inherent existence, because it's not a direct experience, it is able to block the mind that grasps at inherent existence. Okay? So, sure, we are still in a conceptual level in this way. We're not in a deep, direct level. That's why we need still to meditate deeper and deeper on it. But the function is, it's working in that sense. So this is the answer that the Madhyamika is giving here. And the very important point here, this is called the object of negation. The first step on the path to realize emptiness is to understand and to realize the object of negation. What is the object of negation? What is the elephant? Okay? We really need to be able to imagine it clearly. If we're able to imagine the elephant clear, then we can really be sure there is no elephant here, and it can come anyone and I can really discuss and say, no, there is no elephant in here. But I must know what an elephant is. And our elephant here is a little bit more complicated. It's called inherent existence. Okay? So we must be able to see what is inherent existence. It's the way how our mind sees reality. But in the wrong way. So we need to see how ignorance is seeing things. Okay? Let's imagine that we have always believed there was an elephant here. And we believe very much. When we come here, it looks like there is an elephant, and we really believe in it. Then suddenly, okay, another example. Let's say we come to the Gompa all the time and we see these flowers here, okay? And we believe deeply that these are plastic flowers. Okay? We are sure, right? Because we come every year, they're always the same color, always there, and I'm sure that they are plastic flowers. Okay? I have no doubt of it. And then suddenly, one day I come, and I touch them. And I see that they are true flowers. They are not plastic flowers. And I understand that someone has been changing them over the time and always buying a very similar flower. Okay? But so many years have come, and I have always seen it as a plastic flower. that next time I come in, I look to it, what appears to me? Oh, look at the plastic flowers. Oh, that actually are true flowers. Okay? How can I actually know that these are not plastic flowers? By having had an experience. But in order to know that they are not plastic flowers, I must first have clear idea what a plastic flower is also. I must see how I am watching it, how I am seeing it. If I am not even aware that I am seeing it in this way, I would never change my perception. Okay? So first I must be able to see how I see reality in order to change it. Okay? So, one very, very, very important step when we talk about the correct view of reality is to see the mind that grasps at ignorance. I have debated a lot on this. It's a very important subject. Geshe Yeshe Wanchuk, that I think some of you have met him, one of the gurus of Rinpoche, one of the most important masters of our contemporary times, he taught in one of his books, he says, to recognize the object of negation is not enough just to see it. You must know that it is the actual object of negation. For example, if there is a thief in a house, okay, someone is stealing, let's say in a company, someone is stealing money, okay? Someone is stealing money in the company. It's not enough to know the person in order to know the thief. And it's not enough to know that someone is stealing in order to know who is stealing. Okay? I can know Devadatta very well. We go to it every day together. He's stealing the money, but I don't know that he's the thief. So I cannot catch the thief. Why? Because I know the person, but I don't know that he is the thief. So in order for me to catch him, what I need to do? I need to know that there is someone stealing. I need to put the two things together. Stealing and the person. Okay, this person is stealing. In this moment, I can actually know that he's stealing, and I can do something in order to stop him from stealing. Okay? To know the person is not enough. So when we talk about the object of negation, to know, to see phenomena as being as inherent existence is not enough. We already do that. We are very good friends with that view. But we need to know that that's wrong. We need to see that that's the view of ignorance. We need to see, oh, that's the object of negation. Because what happens sometimes is that we simply believe there is an object of negation. What it is, I don't know. We always concentrate in the lack, but not of what. So we say emptiness. Everything is of the nature of emptiness, 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 emptiness. How beautiful, shunyata. Of what? Okay, so we must be able to see it. Then we say it doesn't exist. So it's very important for us to see what's the object of perception, which doesn't exist actually. To be more correct, what's the mode of apprehension of ignorance? And that's wrong. How do we see phenomena? How do phenomena appear to us that actually it's wrong? Once we have that, then we can say it doesn't exist. In the process to realize emptiness is divided into few steps, basically 3, okay? Before we realize it, which are called the 3 wisdoms. The wisdom of listening, the wisdom of comprehending, the wisdom of meditation before we realize it. The wisdom of listening is in the moment. When do we realize the wisdom of listening about emptiness? Is when we understand that is when we are able to generate the mental image of the object of negation, which means when we are able to imagine inherent existence as is seen by ignorance. Okay? I am not exactly sure yet why it doesn't exist. I have not total certainty of the non-existence of inherent existence. Oh, but I can see how it appears to me. I can understand it. Phenomena appear as being of their own existence. When I have what is called yiche, which is a correct, presupposizione, presupposition, no, assumption. Okay? So, when we have a correct assumption that phenomena lack inherent existence, this is when we have the realization of emptiness of listening. We have listened enough. Now we need to comprehend. We know that phenomena lack inherent existence, we don't know why. Then we need to analyze it and analyze it and analyze until we get to the point where we have no doubts whatsoever, when we generate a valid inferential cognition of the lack of inherent existence. And that's the realization of comprehending. Then we need to meditate single-pointed in this concentration until we are able to have a single-pointed concentration of vipassana upon that, of samatha and vipassana. That's the realization of meditation upon emptiness. And from that realization, we'll get to the actual realization of emptiness that is a direct experience. Okay? This is the process. But in order to do all this process, where it's all starting, where are we starting to realize emptiness? Where are we starting to realize the correct view of reality? When we are able to see how ignorance sees. It's not so obvious. But for that, we need to look upon ourselves. Really need to be careful when we talk about all this emptiness, that we only don't stay in the empty part. And we forget about what is it empty of. Okay? This is... Otherwise, there is the danger also of meditating on emptiness just as like watching a movie. It's their emptiness. It's not how I see. Okay? So this takbengola marek parting memet zimaing. Without entering in contact with the designated object, we cannot apprehend its non-existence. So we must see how we see ignorance. In the moment that we see that, a great deal is done. Okay? Then it's just a matter of familiarizing our mind with it. More and more and more, and understanding and comprehending and realizing. But the first step is done. Okay? It's said that the simple fact of doubting the existence of inherent existence is like giving a punch in the face of ignorance. Okay? Ignorance is quite strong. A punch is not enough, but still, it's already something. Okay? So, just to conclude, because this is a point that actually I really, how to say, not only believe, but for me it's very important. We cannot change something if we have not seen it somehow. So, for example, when we meditate about emptiness, we must see the way how our ignorant mind sees things. It's like taking the bull from the horn and looking at the eyes of our own ignorance and saying, that's what I am, that's how I see things, and that's wrong. How I'm going to deal with it, I don't know yet, but that's wrong. Okay? Similar to that, another example is that we can have the best medicine, but a medicine is not medicine as long as it doesn't enter in contact with the sickness. If I keep the medicine in the cupboard, and I never put in contact with the sickness, it will never make the effects of medicine, so it's not medicine, it's not curing. Instead, it can even be poison if it's given to the wrong person. So the medicine is medicine in the moment that it enters in contact with the sickness. The same way, the antidote is antidote when it enters in contact with our defilement. So, for example, the same thing is for ignorance, is for love, compassion, for meditating on patience, on everything else. Otherwise, there's the danger of me meditating on love and compassion toward all sentient beings, but in a very abstract, idealized way. I love all sentient beings. Somehow, all sentient beings around. And I am not feeling it. I'm not like really, do I love the person that is in front of me? Do I love the person that is on my sides? Do I love the person that I know? Do I love the guy that is selling the bread? Do I love everyone or not? The little zanzara that is going around, the mosquito. Do I love it or not? How can I love all sentient beings, Otherwise, if we are not looking at ourselves, if we are not applying the antidote really within us and seeing our own faults, there is the danger, for example, of generating this very idealized way of loving all sentient beings and then always justifying our anger towards other people. So I love everyone with exception of the ones to whom I get angry, but okay. It's not moving. That's why one of the great things of life is to be able to see our own faults. That's why in the Kadampa teachings it says that our best friends are our enemies. Why? Because when we are in contact with their enemy, which means someone that makes our mental defilements to appear, we see things. And it's by seeing our shadows that we can apply light there. Otherwise, we have all these teachings, these beautiful blessings and everything, and we have a big beam of light, and we are pointing it where there is already light. We need to take the beam of light and we need to point it where there is shadow. But in order to do that, we must see the shadow, and it's not always pleasurable. It's not always easy. But it's wonderful. It's beautiful. So, remember, without entering contact with the designated object, we cannot apprehend its known existence. In the same way, without knowing where is the point, without seeing the poison, we cannot apply the medicine. Okay? Now we go to it. And we do the last mantra of Bodhisattva Vijaya. Omo namo bhagavate sarvatrelokya prativishistaya buddhayate nama tayata om brum 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 shodaya shodaya vishodaya asama samanta avaba sparanagati kagana swabhava vishuddhe abhishinjantu mam sarvatata gata sugata varavachana Amrita Abhishekera Mahamudra Mantra Pade Ahara Mama Ayo Sandarani Shodaya Vishodaya Kagana Swabhava Vishuddhe Ushnisha Vijaya Parishuddhi Sahasra Rasmi Sanchodite Sarva Tathagata Avaloki Shat Paramita Paripuran Sarva Tathagata Mate Dasha Bhumi Pratishtite Sarva Tathagata Hridaya Adhishtana Adhishtite Mudre Maha Mudre Vajrakaya Samanta Parishuddhe Sarva Karma Avarana Vishuddhe Prati Nivartaya Mama Ayur Vishuddhe Sarva Tathagata Samaya Adhishtana Adhishtana Om Muni Maha Muni Muni Maha Mati Maha Mati Mamati Sumati Tatata Bhuta Koti Parishuddhe Visputa Buddhishuddhe He Jaya Vijaya Smara Sparaya Sarva Buddha Adhishtana Adhishtite Shuddhe Buddhe Vajre Mahav So Vajra Garbe Jaya Garbe Vijaya Garbe Vajra Jwala Vajro Bhave Vajra Sambhave Vajrini Vajram Bhavantu Mama Shariram Sarva Sattvanam Cha Kaya Parishuddhir Bhavantu Me Sada Sarva Gati Parishuddhischa Sarva Tathagatascha Mam Samazvasayantu Buddhaya Siddhaya Bodhaya Vibodhaya Mochaya Vimochaya Shodaya Vishod Samantena Mochaya Samanta Rasmi Parishuddhi Sarva Tathagata Hridaya Adhish Mudre Maha Mudra Mantra Pade Svoha Om Brum Svoha Om Amrita Ayurdate Svoha Om Ahun Tramre Amam Sarva Satamscha Raksha Kuru Svoha Om Aguru Buddha Ushnisha Vijaya Sarva Siddhi Om Amite Amitobhawe Amita Vikrante Amita Gatri Amita Kamini Amita Ayurdate Kagana Kirtikar Sarva Kleshakshayam Kareye Svoha Tumi chiwe tsema tongwana te mela nambra gyalme ko sewa tongne chida pachumte chime rikzi nyurdu tobra sho chetsun lame kutse rapten nam karatin le chochur gebadan losan tembe drumes druwe mese tadu negyuru nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delek shin ninsen taktu delek kuncho sumge jingelo kuncho sumge ngodrupso Koncho sumge trashisho. Oma hun tempa lame sangye rinpoche, kyoba lame tamcho rinpoche, remba lame gendo rinpoche, kyamne kuncho sumla cho pabu. Locho sambo bagyo trashi pa, tuche tempe trinle yarngot, pegye drolo zambe zebrache, pande lame shela cho pabu.